Welcome to another GCN Tech Clinic where we aim to answer your bike and tech related questions. You can submit your questions using the hashtag AskGCNTech down in the comments below on this video and on other videos as well. And we'll do our best to answer them. So without further ado, let's crack into this week's first question, which comes from Zach Benjamin, who, well, he's actually asked two questions. First, why don't disc brake rotors have a bigger diameter, as they will be more efficient if they did, due to having, greater angular moment? And question two, what is the only country in the world that ends in the letter H? Well, to answer your second question first, I happen to know that it's Bangladesh because I'm a cricket fan and Bangladesh are one of the only test playing nations. So nice try to catch me out on that one. But I also, if I didn't know the answer to that, have the power of Google at my fingertips. So in terms of your disc brake rotor question, they do in fact come in different sizes, and on mountain bikes you will see much bigger rotors. I mean, some downhill mountain bikes have 220mm rotors, whereas the biggest you get on road bikes at the moment is usually 160s, and that's usually on the front. The UCI kind of standard in their spare wheels that they have on the back of service cars is now 160 front, 140 rear. And the simple reason why we don't put bigger rotors on road bikes is because they're not required. They're surplus to requirements. The 160 rotor provides more than enough braking power and sort of contact patch on the rotor for what you will encounter in road situations for most weight road riders, and so you just simply don't need it. It's very difficult to actually cook a disc brake rotor on a road bike, but it is something I'd like to do in a future video where we just try and drag the brakes down a really steep climb and load up the rider with loads of weight and see if we can actually just destroy the disc brake. But yeah, watch this space, but we'll try and do that in the future. Next question is from Ahif Zahid, who says, if I'm straightening a bent derailleur hanger, can it damage the carbon bike frame? Well, I would say providing you do this with the wheel in place, you should have no problem. So normally the way you do it is you use the derailleur straightening tool and you remove your rear mech and screw that into where the rear mech goes on the hanger, and then it's a big lever arm that you can use to bend it into position, and then you do this against the wheel, so you're trying to get the hanger straight against the wheel the whole way around. However, one thing to be aware of when straightening a bent hanger is that once a hanger's been badly bent and then bent back into shape, it's usually not quite as strong as like a fresh one that's never been bent. And so it can be a bit structurally weak and then more prone to bending again in the future. The best advice, and we say this all the time, is always have a spare derailleur hanger just at home in your workshop. And if you ever travel with your bike, take it as well, because it can be hard to source one at short notice. So yeah, always just have a spare, and you should be fine. And you shouldn't damage your frame when you straighten it. Next we have a question from Joe, who says, how often should you get your wheels trued? Well, truing a wheel is that thing of, well, when it needs to be. If your wheel has become bent and is then rubbing against your brake pads as it goes around, or rubbing against your frame, yes, you need to get it trued. Some wheels can be very slightly out of true and just a touch, at which point you might not need to get it trued. It might not be causing issues when you ride and it should be all right. But in my experience, wheel truing is something that happens very rarely now. Most modern wheels are very strong and don't often buckle and don't often require truing. It was something that I found myself having to do a lot more, maybe 8-10 years ago. But now it's something that doesn't really happen too often. And of course, if you're a heavier rider, then you might find that you're bending wheels a bit more often. But the short answer, true them when they need truing, but it shouldn't happen too often. GB has said, should you get a bike fit before or after buying a new bike? Well, if you're unsure of the size that you need on a new bike, I would say absolutely, get a bike fit before you get one. And the thing that really springs to mind on this question is the Seller Italia ID match that we did recently. An amazing tool. you know, using that, you can go get a bike fit, but it can also then, using their vast database of all different frame sizes, tell you exactly what frame size you would want in any brand of bike, and then what sort of accessories you'd want with that frame as well. So how many spacers you'd want below the stem, how high you'd want the seat post, what size seat post, what size stem, what size handlebars, all those things, which are just really useful. So it means that when you buy your new bike, you get it completely the right size. And in the past, people have kind of got bikes and then fitted the bike to them, whereas I think it's a much more sensible way and will probably save you money in the long run and improve your riding experience if you fit yourself and then get the bike that's your fit. So I would advise doing that if you can. Next question is from Siddharth Doshi, who says, "Hi guys, I have an Ultegra 11-speed R8000 mechanical group set and I'd like to upgrade it to electronic shifting sometime in the future. Can a Shimano drivetrain and disc brakes work with Sram E-Tap front and rear derailleurs and shifters, as it seems cleaner to upgrade to E-Tap as you don't have all the wires and things that you have with the i2? Right, quick answer, no, won't work. The parts that you could use and transfer over if you were kind of interchanging SRAM and Shimano would be the cassette and the disc brake rotors, although both of the brands would recommend that this is suboptimal and they wouldn't recommend it. The reason why you can't use SRAM shifters and Shimano hydraulic calipers, and even the same applies on rim brakes actually as well, is because along the same lines, but the amount of hydraulic fluid and the way that the hydraulic pistons work in the shifter is directly corresponding and proportional to the way that the caliper is designed. So it won't work properly. It's the same with the cable pull ratio on the mechanical rim brakes. The amount of cable pull is different from Shimano to SRAM, and so therefore you have issues if you try and mix and match those brake systems as well. So basically just stick with either or, whichever you decide to go to, get the complete group set of that particular brand. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week, so I hope you've enjoyed the show. Keep your questions coming in, it's always a pleasure answering them using the hashtag AskGCNTech. And still not too late to get some last minute Christmas shopping in for the cyclists in your lives, or you can treat yourself. GCN Ass Savers, also available in the GCN shop. Look at these. You saw this one, you see mine's been saving my ass recently. There you go. Anyway, see you in the next one. Bye.